Hello everyone. Have I got a great story for you guys today. I'm an over-the-road truck driver. What I seen one night still haunts me. My name is Carlos. I have been a truck driver for over 10 years now, running the same 3 routes for over the past 10 years hauling cattle. I decided that it was about time for a change. So I asked the boss man, Rick, if I could change it up a little bit and maybe take some routes through the Midwest and Western United States. No problem, he said. Well, boy, that was easy, I thought, thinking I should have probably asked this a while back. I gotta tell you, though, he said, there are a few states out that way that have scared a few of my drivers into quitting. Why's that? I said.
I don't know. They just all up and quit up on me without an explanation. It was odd.
Finding that kind of odd, it wasn't that much of a worry to me, as I had been on the road long enough and haven't seen anything strange or odd at all. So I start first thing in the morning, and I'm supposed to pick up in Cleveland, Ohio, and transport to Bend, Oregon. Should be exciting, as I've never went any further west than Nebraska or Kansas. I couldn't sleep that night. I was so excited about my brand new route. So I was up most of the night, mapping out my brand new routes. Anything, around weigh stations, of course, as all they do is slow you down or write you a very hefty fine if you are overweight.
It was about 6 a.m. when I finally hit the road, and I was pretty jacked up and on at least 6 cups of coffee. I made it to Cleveland in no time from Cincinnati. I got my load and was set to make my way to Oregon.
After about 12 hours of being on the road, I decided to call it quits for the day, and I pulled into a truck stop just outside of Springfield, Illinois. It was a rather quiet truck stop, had about maybe 30 to 40 trucks there, so I found my place to park and crawled into my sleeper. I was out probably within 5 minutes. I woke early the next morning a little bit groggy, so I slammed a few espresso coffees, and then I bought a few packs of Yellow Jacket pills, the ones that used to have ephedra in them.
I had to pop at least a few of those because I knew it was going to be a long, tough day.
Driving was smooth, there was no problems, was even able to go about 5 miles an hour over the speed limits without any issues from the police or anything. Then the night was settling in again quick as I was entering Wyoming, just outside of Cheyenne. It was about 3 a.m. at this time. I was starting to find it hard to keep my eyes open. I had to splash my face with water, and it seemed to wake me up, but only for a little bit.
As I was cruising down the road, I seemed to be the only one that was on the road. Then with what I had seen up ahead, I thought for sure my mind was playing tricks on me, as I seen a figure in the road, so I immediately started to slow down.
As I got closer, reality sunk in. It was a person, or something. It appeared to be a man wearing a hoodie with a scarf around his face. With it being fall, it was getting a little chilly out. But what in the hell was he doing way out here at this hour? I thought to myself. I tried to pull beside him and roll down my window so I could ask if everything was all right. But he turned and started running out into the trees immediately. This startled me. I couldn't see his face, and he just took off. It stayed on my mind for the next few minutes, then I started feeling really tired. So I found the next rest area. It was about 20 miles from the incident with the weird, creepy person. I slept for about an hour, maybe 2. And then I had a hunch, you might say.
Or something like that had awakened me for some reason. The hunch that I'd had was something that told me to turn my headlights on, as it was pitch black out and I was the only vehicle in the parking lot. And sure enough, there was a figure just at the end of where my headlights would reach. I had to squint my eyes, and sure as shit, it was that same man. Except this time, I could see his face, and he had blacked out eyes, and an unnaturally long smile from ear to ear. Rows of teeth, not human teeth either. He just stood there, smiling at me. I thought for a second I was dreaming, so I had to rub my eyes. and look again, but nope, he was still there. I was terrified now and immediately started my truck as fast as I could, and I took off. That man or creature or whatever it was just stayed standing there and stared at me as I left. I couldn't believe how he had caught up to me on foot in that short amount of time. I was at least 20 miles up the road from where I first seen him. I was wide awake now at this point, horrified by what had just happened. I was shaking and trembling as I tried to gather my composure, because I've never seen anything like that before. I wondered to myself if I was just hallucinating from the lack of sleep. But then again, it all seemed way too real to me. I drove about 1 more hour up the road, and then I was on the other side of Cheyenne, Wyoming. I had to pull over and I had to take a much-needed 8-hour rest break. I woke up the next morning and I was eating at a restaurant and had overheard a few other truck drivers that were talking about a rest area back up the road that had been flooded with cops and paramedics. Then, what I had heard them say next sent chills right down my spine. I immediately lost my appetite and started to feel sick. They had said that 3 people were found with limbs missing and that their insides were completely ripped out and strung across the restroom entrance. I couldn't believe that it was the exact rest area where I was just at earlier this morning. It had to have happened right after I left. I kept thinking to myself, that could have been me if I hadn't woken up and have gotten the hell out of there. Something had told me to wake up and to turn my headlights on. If it wasn't a sixth sense or an angel watching over me, I have no clue what it was.
It was just mere hours after I had left that those 3 unsuspecting people must have met that strange individual that I had come across, and that was it for them. Other than that scary incident, the rest of my trip was pretty successful with no other problems. So I decided to take a whole other route on the way back, and everything was smooth. I told my boss Rick what had happened on the route, and he could only say, "Yeah, well, I told you so. Would you like your old route back?" I declined, as I wanted to explore more of the West Coast area, but I was going to stay away from Cheyenne, Wyoming, because as whoever committed those heinous crimes was still at large. What I had seen that night was not a hallucination. It was all too real. I still think about it constantly, as I could have lost my life, or maybe even possibly prevented those other people from losing theirs if I would have stayed. Still, this has creeped me out, and I am way more aware now than ever when traveling. If any other incident happens, I'll be sure to post it as soon as possible. I appreciate you all, and thanks for listening to my story, and stay clear from that rest area that is right outside of Cheyenne, Wyoming. There's something very evil there.